So I'm starting this video off talking about three types of people, or what is in some cases perceived to be three types of people. That's the leader, the follower, and the loner. Those are three types of people that we're going to be talking about today. These three ideas of people are in fact not three types of different people. These are three aspects of any person, of every person, that at some point in time of our life we have to assume the role of the leader, the follower, and the loner. Each of these roles comes with its own experiences, its own lessons to learn, and in some way its own service that we as people will give to our fellow mankind. At some point we need to be in a position to be a leader, to service our fellow man by leading, by being the one to take the first step in a certain direction that other people can follow, and also taking the responsibility and taking the risk of being the one to take that first step that other people will then follow behind. Also, there is a wealth of experience in that role. Being a leader, taking those first steps, having no one to look to when you're doing this thing, that generates a particular experience internally and externally that allows a person to grow in a certain way and learn certain lessons that they wouldn't have just by following someone. That being said, there's also the experience of being a follower. That is having the humility and the understanding that you perhaps don't understand a thing or a situation or a dynamic or even yourself well enough to be the first person to do this, or to be the forefront person, or that you're capable of even completing, starting, or even participating in whatever activity or event by yourself without the leadership or guidance of another. And a lot of times as people, we often want to feel that we are competent and capable of doing something for ourselves by ourselves. But there are times when that's just not going to be possible. You're going to need to follow somebody. You're going to need somebody to guide you through this experience, guide you even sometimes through the inner workings of yourself. Obviously, we're more accustomed with the lessons that are learned from following because there is somebody ahead of us to presumably teach us. So I think that's a concept that most people can easily grasp. But even the experience of allowing yourself to be in a position to follow someone else, there's inner work that is required. There is a particular growth that I believe occurs through the experience of allowing yourself to subordinate oneself to that of another for the effect of accomplishing a goal, accomplishing a mission, for learning about a particular subject, learning about a particular skill or craft, or even learning about yourself. I feel like that is an imperative lesson that we all have to learn at some point in our lives. Being able to subordinate yourself to the will of another for the purpose of accomplishing something, whether internally or externally. And then there comes the loner. There is the time in our lives when we don't have the responsibility of leading others. We don't have the opportunity to follow another. And there are some obstacles and certain experiences that have to be experienced, endured, or even in some cases enjoyed by yourself. There's a wealth of knowledge through the experience of loneliness. And when I say loneliness, I don't mean in the sense that you emotionally feel so alone and detached from everything. I mean in the sense that you are truly alone, and if there are goals or things that you need to accomplish, whether internally or externally, they can only be achieved not through the teamwork or a synergistic situation where somebody else is helping you through this. It is solely and purely by your own actions, by your own thoughts, beliefs, and solo dolo. And there's some people who will gravitate one way or another to one of those three things. Some people naturally gravitate towards leadership. Some people naturally gravitate towards following. And then some people naturally gravitate towards being a loner. However, neither of these three things are mutually exclusive. I think every single person on this earth is given an opportunity to be a leader, a follower, or a loner at some point in their life, in different aspects of their life. So it may not just be a total encompassing thing, like where in most areas in your life you might take on a leadership role, but then there'll be some aspects in your life where you must follow, and then there'll be some aspects where you just got to do it alone. And the same with being a follower. For the most of your life, you may be a follower. And again, I know in our Western society, the concept of being a follower is looked at as being, I guess, derogatory, or as being negative, or, lacking. But it's just a natural part of reality, a natural part of life. You can't be a leader without having someone to follow you. So if you exalt yourself on being a leader, you can't then look down on people who would be followers, because both pieces are essential for one to beget the other. In order to be a follower, you need a leader. In order to be a leader, you need a follower. You need each other. And in order to be a loner, I guess you need to have the antithesis, which would be some sense of community, which is consisted of which is consisted of followers and leaders. So, there you go. It all, one begets the other. So, I digress. But my point is, back to being a follower. Most of your life, you might be a follower. In most aspects in your life, you might be a follower. But there will be certain instances, certain aspects, and certain parts of your life where you are required to lead. The same with being a loner. For most parts of your life, you may find yourself leaning towards being a loner, doing things alone, but there will undoubtedly be circumstances and situations that require you to either assist another, to be assisted by another, to have to follow someone else's instruction, or to give instruction to facilitate the accomplishment of a goal or resolution of a conflict or problem, or even if it's just to have a particular experience. And like I said, we all are put here to have these experiences, to be in these roles of leader, follower, and loner. Neither one is better than the other, even though some cultures may prefer or exalt one more than the other, but they ultimately are all necessary, and they're all roles that we there's something to grow from. There are certain experiences that, like for example, when you have the responsibility of another one's welfare in your care, or you have to take care, whether it be in children or whether it be leadership in a job or military, you have the responsibility of other people's lives, and to a degree, I guess their will bending to yours to a degree. And in terms of the military, there is a growing levels of that. There is always one person below you, one person or many person above you. There's always somebody above you, and there's probably always somebody below you, unless you're E1 or something like that. But even then, having rank, being the same rank, you may have somebody who's significantly younger than you, even though you're the same rank, or somebody who's less life experience, or somebody who doesn't have the same skills that you have, don't have the background that you have. So in some way, you still have to lead them in some way. And outside of the military, you'll see several instances where you find yourself having to lead, whether willingly or begrudgingly. Those who have, I feel, a good character for leadership oftentimes are unwilling to be leaders at first, because they understand the responsibility that it holds. It's not just about telling people what to do. It's about, if I give instruction to an individual or group of individuals, and I haven't considered all the relevant variables, all the consequences, all the different ways things can go, depending on the nature of what your leadership follower dynamic is and what y'all are trying to accomplish together. It could be a life or death situation, or a catastrophic loss, or it could just end on some people just being disappointed in you. And for some people, that's a big deal, having people being disappointed in them. And more so than that, the fact that others are disappointed in them may reflect or mirror the disappointment they may have in themselves, which is probably egregious. So a lot of people, who are considerate of those things and are aware of the different ins and outs of being a leader and the downfalls that they could befall them, if they're not aware of everything involved with what their role is. They're understandably hesitant to step into that role if they don't have to. Others are more confident and more willing, and now we're talking about, I guess, different personality types, which is a whole nother thing. For some, it may not be a matter of who's a better leader or not. It may just be a different personality type. But I digress from that. The point I'm trying to make is that the experience of leadership, there are certain experiences you're not going to get from following. In following, there's certain things you are not going to experience being in the front. There's a particular thing from traveling behind someone, figuratively or literally, learning from their example. There's a certain security in that, but there's also a certain restriction as well. Because you have to follow another, you are restricting yourself to do things the way they know how to do it, or the way that they feel comfortable. And there is a lesson to learn within that restriction. Every experience we have teaches us something. We just have to be keen to learn the lesson. A lot of times we look to have positive experiences because we want to enjoy ourselves. We want to be entertained. We want this to make us happy. But life isn't all about being happy. Yes, most of us want to be happy, and there's nothing wrong with being happy. But life and this experience is encompassed in more than just happiness. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. We're here to evolve. And oftentimes, the most growth, the most evolution, the most lessons learned don't come necessarily from the positive experiences or the experiences that we would deem as positive. Not all the time, not necessarily. Usually, they come from the uncomfortable situations, the hard lessons, the painful experiences, and if we allow those, what we would deem as negative experiences, to overrun us, and we don't allow ourselves to find the lesson in that experience, then it's to our detriment. Because in my personal summation, the way I see things, I don't see things as good and bad. Generally, I think that good and bad is perceptual. Now, by me being a human being, having my own ego, my own experiences, there's definitely things that I would personally say this is bad or good and bad based on my experience and my personal self and my personal ego experiential. But thinking in a general objective aspect, if you're able to imagine beyond your immediate experience and understand or have a concept of the higher concepts, if you will, that good and bad really doesn't exist. Good and bad doesn't exist. It is totally perceptual, even within those situations that we would call bad or negative, for lack of a better phrase. It's all about how you look at it. You can choose to look at it as, oh man, this sucks. I'm in traffic. I'm in this this long traffic, and I'm like, it's 10-minute hold up. But what you're not aware of is that if not for that 10-minute hold up, if you weren't stuck in traffic, had you been at the destination or the spot that you wanted to at the time that you wanted to, something catastrophic could have happened. You could have gotten into a car accident. Somebody could have been, mugging somebody, and you could have been collateral damage. There's a number of different things that we have no idea, no control of, no way of predicting, what is and what would or what could be. All we know is what we believe we want and what we think we're trying to do. So a situation that may immediately seem negative or immediately seem adverse to what we want may actually be in our favor, maybe actually to our benefit. It's all about how we choose to perceive that experience and that event and or events. I'm going off another way again, so let me bring it back. Being a follower, a leader, a loner, like I said, there's no such thing as a complete leader, complete follower, complete loner. These are all aspects of our human experience. These are all aspects that we need to experience and embrace at different parts of our lives. But don't allow yourself to identify too much with one or the other that doesn't allow you to experience the other aspects. Don't identify too much with being a leader. Yes, you can be a leader. In a lot of situations in your life, and a lot of parts of your life may involve you being a leader. That may be the dominant role that you play, and that's all right. But don't identify so much with it that you can't allow yourself to follow when necessary. Don't allow yourself to become lost when you have to go it alone. When there's nobody to follow you, no one to give orders to, no one else to have the back and forth exchange with. Don't allow yourself to be lost in those situations, because inevitably, we are all leading ourselves. Whether we're following or have other people following us, we're still inevitably leading ourselves. So, and in one sense of the word, we are always alone. But when you know what you know, you understand that you're never alone either. So take with that where you will. This is my first video talking about things like this of this nature, on camera. So if my delivery is a little, whatever, I'm gonna get better with it. So you just bear with me. I hope that the content of this video, this message, is useful in some way to someone else. Being a leader, being a follower, being a loner, we're all of them. There's no such thing as you being a complete loner, no such thing as you being a complete follower, no such thing as you being a complete leader. We'll all have opportunities in our lives to experience all of those roles, and we should, but look, I love y'all. Take care of yourselves, and till the next video, man, keep yourself enlightened, man. Keep yourself, on a high positive vibe. Love y'all. I mean that. Peace.